So my custom home in Newberry, we've got the house all dried in and we've started the duct work. So I'm going to go over, the duct work details and what we're looking for at this stage of construction. So the main thing we're doing at this stage is following the manual D, which is the duct layout. So, we have this duct layout shown here, which shows what all of our trunk sizes are supposed to be, all of our runouts, where all our supplies are supposed to be and how many of them. And that's what we follow at this stage. And so in this shot, you can see where the unit's going to sit. So above the unit, we have a main supply and a main return. And so that is where, all the ductwork in the house is going to be coming to and from is from this location where the unit's sitting. And so you can see it here in the attic, above the unit, you see these main supplies and main returns, going back to where the air handler is sitting. And so here, we'll get another look at the manual D, and we'll see, all those trunk lines going back to the unit in the upper left-hand corner. And so, this is the main return in the house. This connects to a hallway next to the kitchen and then also connects to the master bedroom. You can see that off to the right of that unit. And what this is doing is it's sucking the humid air out of the house and sending it back to the unit to be dehumidified and then heated or cooled and then dispersed to the rest of the house. And so right here we have, some of the main trunk lines, Plenum going to, this is where how all the air is getting to, the great room area and then also the guest bedroom side of the house. And so, we see a main trunk line and then we see it going into a plenum and then all the runouts coming from that plenum, which the plenum acts like a distribution box basically, for all the smaller ductwork to get to the bedrooms and individual areas. And so that's what we're seeing here. That yellow box that we zoomed in on there at first was a plenum, and then it distributes to, all the bedrooms. And so one thing really interesting on this side of the house is instead of having return air that goes back to the air handler, we actually have a balancing return. So as you can see here, we have a return vent in the hallway, and then we have return ducts that connect to this return vent in the bedroom. This is to balance the pressure in the room. So it doesn't send air back to the main handler, but it just balances the pressure, which is required. If we didn't do this, we have to put a vent over the door or something similar to balance pressure. And so all this information is on the manual D. And then also at this stage, we'll check, all the bathroom vents. These need to be penetrated up out of the roof deck. And so, we've got a couple bathrooms in this house. So we see the, bath fans, vented up out of the roof. The same thing with the dryer vent. So we have a stackable dryer at this house and we see it vented up out of the roof in this case. And this is the kitchen hood vent that is also vented up out of the roof. So something else you have to account for at this stage is where the thermostat goes. We always like to put that in a hallway, preferably next to the master bedroom, which is what we did in this case. You don't want it to be exposed to extra heat or anything, so a hallway is a perfect spot for it. And so, this is what the duct rough stage looks like. The most important thing at this point is following the manual D correctly. If you do that and make sure you have all your venting in place that you need, you'll be in good shape.